money is just a byproduct of everything else that I do. It just comes with it. And I think once I made that transition, which was stop focusing on the money and start focusing on the impact, life changed.
Welcome back to the Social CEO podcast. I'm your host, Dani Barker, and in this episode, we're joined by Emily Topping. She's a very good friend of mine and a fellow online business owner. She runs her own clothing brand, Emerge Elite. She runs her own social media agency and self-publishes her own book, all whilst working full-time. Tune in to find out more about Emily's story through entrepreneurship, how she got to where she is, and how she manages her time effectively to fit all of this in. I called you a serial entrepreneur, but how would you describe yourself to listeners that don't already follow you on social?
Well, I mean, you said it pretty spot on. I'm kind of the person who is given opportunities and usually runs with them until they don't work. So, I didn't grow up in, with financial stability. So I had to kind of learn it on my own. So I wanted to do Facebook ads. So I had to go and learn that. And I wanted to learn about SEO and website building and stuff. So it was kind of like I was a whole bundle in one. It was like not just opening up a business is the easiest part. It's £13 on Company's House if you really want to. And you can call yourself a CEO and a founder and stuff like that. But then when you got into the nitty gritty stuff, like taxes, that is horrendous. And you definitely know how terrible I was at the beginning. And obviously now it's something I really like. I really like seeing where my money is going and not just like coming into my account. I like seeing where it's going out of my account into either investments or business opportunities or whatever. I've actually really loved finances now. Doesn't mean that I'm going to become an accountant. Like I'm not that serial, but it's just everything seems to develop. And that's what I found. Like all of my businesses have developed from a singular business. Like that one singular business started everything off, and then I've just essentially branched out on it. I think most entrepreneurs are serial in a way, because I think I read something where entrepreneurs can have up to like 7 streams of income at any one time, because they know how fragile the economy can be. So you kind of just you divide yourself up to all these different things, so you can be like, well, if this one goes, then at least I've got this one and this one and this one and this one.
Yeah, like not putting all of your eggs in one basket, not putting all of your time, money, and energy into just one business, one income stream. That makes a lot of sense.
Yep. Taking
things back a bit, did you ever see yourself? You said all of what you do now stems from the first business that you started, but did you ever actually see yourself having multiple businesses?
I didn't at the time, but now looking back on it, I was doing this since I was about 10 years old. I had like a paper. It actually started out with, I wanted to learn how to ride a horse, and my mum and dad couldn't afford the lessons, and it was £25 per lesson. I remember it distinctively. But the deal was, when you turn 10 years old, you can work on the yard and muck out horses and brush the ponies and all this kind of stuff. And if you did 2 days, you got 1 lesson. So that's what I do. I'd spend my day from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m, Saturday and Sunday, to get 1 lesson on Sunday. And that was what I did. And that's how I started at the beginning of being like, I know exactly what I can do. And I would do extra things. Like I would sign people into the book, like 10-year-old me. I'm 29 now. And I'd be there like, yes, are you coming? You're riding Millie today. Like
Cute.
I would do all of that stuff. And then it meant that I got to choose the horse that I got to ride on. And I was there in half term, and I would just bank all of these lessons so that my mum and dad didn't have to pay for them. And then I did the same with I had a newspaper round. And when the roads were really terrible in the winter and stuff, I'd drag my dad out, and he had like this car/van thing, but the back doors opened, and you could literally sit on the back, and he would drive, stop, and I'd jump out with the paper, run up to the door, post it, run back to the car and jump back into the car and go to the next one. And I dragged my dad into doing that because my parents weren't really happy with me riding around on my bike at 7 a.m. in the morning while it was really icy, which I can understand when I'm 12 years old, because knowing me, I'd break a bone. So yeah, and I mean, I didn't notice this until I got older, and probably until I was about 24. In college, I noticed that we never had any hoodies. Like everyone has like personalized hoodies, like class of 2020 and all this kind of stuff. We didn't have things like that. So I made my own, and I would draw pictures of horses because I went to an equine college, and I would draw pictures of horses and have their initials on the front and their education or whatever, their degree and stuff on the back, and I'd sell it to them.
Okay.
Yeah, I used to do all of that stuff. Oh, and I was also really good for booze.
Okay, I think that's going to warrant an explanation.
Well, it's like I lived at college. It's a vocational college, and it's kind of like if you want to be in the equine industry, you need to live and breathe it. I was one of the first people to turn 18 in my block. So I was known for selling these hoodies, and then I would buy booze with the money and then sell the booze to other people.
Lucrative.
Yeah, which, isn't the best idea because most of them were not of age. But I was that kid that I never ran out of money. I always had something going on. And, there was even a while when I was like 21 where I used to play on Twitch, which is a streaming platform. And I used to play video games, and I was really good at Call of Duty. And I would earn money through that. Like there was, as I said, like there was opportunities. If I was ever presented an opportunity and I thought I could do something with it, I would always give it a go until it didn't work.
Yeah.
And I've been doing that since day dot, really.
That's amazing. Like, this is really good fun for me because I've known you for so long, but I know we're going to come out with even more stories that I haven't actually heard yet. So you were taking on all of these little side hustles as a kid, but did you have like a fantasy career? Like, did you want to be a vet all along, or were you just sort of going from one thing to another?
Since I was about 4, I think my mum and dad said I always wanted to be a vet. I always wanted to be with animals. I love animals. Like, to be honest, I'm probably going to be that person who has like 7 dogs. And I'm just going to have I won't have children. I'll have animals. And they will be my children. And so automatically people were like, well, to be the best in that industry is a vet. So I think that's what I actually hooked onto the most. But in school, I really didn't like school. I really didn't like it. I'm not academic. I'm not book smart. I can't read things, visualize it, store it in my head, and then regurgitate it onto an exam paper. It's not in my DNA. And I remember at school, it was like, yeah, no, you're going to be a journalist, because the only thing I was good at was English. Like, I was okay at other things. I mean, I got about 10 GCSEs, so I didn't do terrible. But yeah, I was just not academic at all. And then it was like someone was telling me at 14, 15 years old that I should be a journalist. And I was like, dude, I don't like writing, and look at me now.
Yeah, actually, let's quickly set the scene. What do you do now?
Now?
Give us the full breakdown.
So at the minute, I have a clothing company called Emerge Elite. I have a photography and film company in my own name, Emily Topping. And then I have a social media marketing company. I also am a self-published author. And then I don't know, what else do I'm also a lab technician. So I'm technically like a medical scientist in a way, not as fancy as that though. Like, we make vaccines. So I also do that. I was a vet nurse. I have been an international groom and ridden horses all over the world. Like, there's quite a few things I have done and I'm doing.
Your CV is like miles long. It's always one of my, I think, party tricks. Is certainly a conversation starter is my CV, but I think yours beats mine, like blows it right out of the water.
Yeah, no, I've done a few things, been a few places, lived in a lot of places. But I've always wanted to. That is definitely one thing I have definitely wanted to do, which was something that I think that's probably why I wasn't very happy with education, because education meant that I was stuck. Like, I had to stay there in order to do it. And that's why I got my foundation degree in business. That's why I did it remotely. Because then I had control over what was being done and when. And so the second I could get out of my hometown, I did. I think I left when I was about 16 and I have not returned.
Yeah. So that foundation degree in business, did that come before or after you started getting interested in actually running your own business? What came first?
The degree.
Okay.
So I actually started up Emerge Elite halfway through the degree. I started learning about business. It was actually one of my employers at the time who got me interested in it, because she was like, it's a good thing to have. She was a very important person. Like, I can't actually talk about her. I confidentially signed something that says that I can't talk about her. But basically, she's a big person. And she was incredible for showing me how much you can do. Because she was doing it. She had children and a husband, and she was a boss ass lady, and she owned her stuff, and she managed like one of the biggest companies in the UK. And it was like, you're awesome. Like, and she was just like, well, do a foundation degree while you're working for me. Because essentially at that time I was an animal manager. So my job was literally to look after 2 dogs, 3 horses, ducks, swans, and at one point there was like guinea pigs and stuff like that. And
Adorable.
Yeah, and that was my job. My job was literally, they called it the Lady of Leisure job, because that was what I did. I just looked after animals. And that was it was a great job. And she was like, you've got the time. She was like, between, seeing to the kids and taking them for a ride and riding the horses yourself, you have all of this time. She was like, why don't you further educate yourself in case you do want to step into business? Because obviously I'd ask her so many questions about it. So she helped me do that. But then I left that job and went into vet nursing. And then that was when I had the spark and was like, yeah, no, I was learning about business, but I'm not academic. I need to do it. So I was finding that no matter what they were telling me in these lessons and in these books and everything, it just wasn't sinking in, because I didn't have my feet on the ground in the battleground. Like, I didn't have it. And I needed that in order to see if I could do it or not.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's one of the things that always draws me to you as an entrepreneur, is that you are one of the most committed action takers that I know. Like, you never have an idea that you don't actually carry out. And you're always like learning as you go along and just, generally getting everything done.
You're too nice to me, Dani.
It's true though. And what I find particularly mind-blowing is that whilst you were, studying business, you started your first business, Emerge Elite, you were working obviously full-time as a vet nurse, but that included night shifts as well. Why did you keep that up? Even now you work full-time. So what's your reasoning behind doing it all?
I mean, at the beginning, I'll be completely honest, I didn't have a choice. I didn't have, as much as my mum and dad would open up their doors and let me move back home, I'm not that sort of person. And I was like, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it on my own. And I was like, I'm going to make sure that it is a feasible thing for me to do. So I only kept the day job because it kept a roof over my head. And I did love the job. I've always loved horses. Leaving that industry was a massive thing for me. And it has, to this day, still been something that I'm like, do I go back to it? I obviously won't, because of the lifestyle that comes with it. I'd much rather have horses as a hobby now, not as a job. But, with vet nursing, it taught you toughness. Like, that entire 4-year period taught me that if you want something, not like, if you want it enough, you can get it. But if you are willing to work at it, you can definitely get a lot closer to it. Because obviously, since leaving that job, my businesses have grown so much, as you've been around to see, because I've got more time. I've got so much more time. Like, I'm not working 60 to 80 hours a week anymore and being awake for 27 hours and, packing orders between dealing with emergencies and stuff. I'm not doing that anymore. I work a 9-to-5 job and I get every weekend off, and I only work more if I want to, which, is brilliant. And it's the same thing right now. It's just kind of like, I do love my day job and I love the people that I work with, and the company that I work with is incredible. They really do look after us in all aspects, like private medical and all this kind of stuff, which at the minute, especially through my injuries over the last couple of years, I've needed that. And the way that I see it as well is having a full-time job gives me the security, because I have a roof over my head. Like, I have to pay for this place. I have to pay for the food that goes on my table. And at the minute, especially with everything that's been going on, I need the job. Like, I did so well in 2019 and we hit 6 figures and everyone was like, that's it, you're done. You're successful. You've made it. I basically spent all that money in 2020 just to keep everything alive. And that is horrible to know that if I didn't have my day job, that would have all crumbled. I would have had to move back in with my mum and dad. I still wouldn't have my independence. I wouldn't be able to do business like I still do it because I wouldn't have the opportunities because I'd have no money, no influence, my mum and dad now live in the middle of Wales, like in the middle of nowhere. Like, it would not be a place where someone who likes to be physically present to their clients and stuff, I wouldn't be able to do it. So that's why I do it. I think the whole scenario about, everyone's like, you make enough money and then you quit your job. That's it. That's borderline. That's what you do. I don't agree with that. I think if you can keep a job, even if it's a part-time job, just to make sure that everything is secure. And then when you can make enough money that you can live off it for 6 months, and I'm not saying in 1 month you need to make it, but if you could make like 8 grand and have that sitting in a bank account, you don't need it, then you could possibly take the opportunity to quit your job, because then if no money comes into your bank account, you'd be okay for 6 months. And that's how I view everything. And because obviously with everything that's gone on in 2020, I don't have that opportunity. I didn't have that opportunity. So my day job has been a blessing, and I continue to work at it until my businesses pick up again. And that's the way it's going to go.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think I'm with you on that one. Having a day job gets such a bad rep in the entrepreneurship world, and everybody it's almost like a marketing piece, like do my course and quit your 9 to 5. 9 to 5s are, this thing that everybody wants to escape from. And it's some people do feel like that for sure, but actually jobs are, more often than not, they are more than jobs. So like you said, you've got healthcare that you actually really need. You've got financial security as well. And for myself, I work full time. I'm head of marketing at a media agency, and I'm very grateful and fortunate that I get to have a job in the same industry that my business is in. So I am not looking to quit my job just if my business grows, because the two of them, it's like a synergy. When 1 + 1 isn't 2, it's actually 5 or 10, because my job is more than a job in the sense that I have network, support, learning and development, and financial security. So yeah, I think we should continue crushing that misconception as we go around online, because I think that jobs are actually really important, and nobody is above having a day job.
Yeah, I think also, like, going on that point, it's like people have got this stupid concept in their head that you build a business and you work 2 hours a day on it and then spend the rest of your day reading a book or meditating or, on your PlayStation or whatever. That's this weird misconception that's been put out there. And it's not. Like, I wake up at, but I wake up at 5 a.m. and I stop working at 9 p.m. Like, unless it's an emergency. If it's an emergency, I will push out a little bit further. But that is what I do Monday to Friday. And I wake up at 5 a.m. and I work 2 hours on my business stuff before I go to my day job. I usually work my lunch. And then when I come home, I get home usually around 5, and then I'll work through until 9. So I can work 6-7 hours in a day. And the thing is, this is why people get away with this marketing strategy, is because no one freaking wants to do that. No one wants to work 16 hours a day, 5 days a week. They don't want to do it. And the difference I find is that if you are latching onto something that you want to spend as little time as possible on and make as little impact as possible on, it's not going to be successful. Like all of these massive marketers, and they're saying, buy my course and you work 4 hours a week. No, they don't do that. It's like me saying that, I'll take your film and photography and it'll be done in 2 minutes. It's not. There's so many things that have to go on and so many business protocols you have to go through. Like, it's just silly. I can understand that there are a few people who get so high up and they hire so many people and that's what happens, but you are not there. and you're probably not going to get there for 5 to 10 years. And that's if you work your ass, like most of us do. I mean, I'm really fortunate. I like working. I love my job. It's like, and I always have. So for me, this is not work. You know, sitting at my computer, answering emails, doing Zoom calls, doing podcasting, that doesn't feel like work to me. That is just part of who I am. And that makes this whole process so much easier.
Yeah, for sure. If you're building a business that your only goal is to get away from, is that the right business that you should be building? No, probably not.
I like social. It's funny because it's industries that I'm in, like social media marketing and stuff has become super, super popular because obviously it's all online. 9 times out of 10, people don't actually like what they're doing. It's like, whereas me, I will be reporting to my clients at the weekend being like, oh my God, look at these numbers. Like, this is what we did. And this is exactly what I, like targeted. And this is how the ad campaign went. Like, I am so fascinated about what I can do with the space of the internet. Like, and there's a lot of people that they don't really care. And it's just the same as if you're stacking shelves in Tesco and you are bored and you don't like it, to doing social media marketing 4 hours a day where it is an actual drag and you have to pull yourself into it and you have to force yourself to work. You're still unhappy, like regardless.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean anything because you know, whether you're working 7 hours at Tesco's or 4 hours on a social media platform, it doesn't matter. Because if you're unhappy, that carries on to everything else in your life.
Yeah, for sure. And if that's the expectation that you start your business with, if you go into business expecting that it's going to be cruising 4 hours a week, this is great, money rolling in, and that's the expectation that you start it with, then very quickly, I think you're going to become not just demotivated, but maybe like actively resentful towards it.
Yeah, I totally agree. And that's why, like in these courses, they're like, just do the course. It's never like that.
No.
Like, I've been on these courses. To be honest, there is one course I actually rate really highly. And it's because he goes into like actual fundamental things like get that platform, get this, do that, suck it up and do it. And it's like he's very black and white. And that's what I like about that, because then no one needs to give me the work ethic. No one needs to give me the passion and the gumption and the drive forward. I've already got that. But there are a few things I'm still not great at. I'm still a business that is developing. Like, regardless of how good I do, and, everyone's always likes to pipe up and be like, yeah, but you did so well in 2019. It's like, yeah, but I'm still learning. Like, it's still a process, and it always will be. And it'll be a process that is exactly like investments. It'll go up and it'll go down.
Because that's life.
Because that is life.
So, wow, that was a really good tangent there.
Yeah, you did a lot.
Yeah, I know. So yeah, like you're not afraid of taking on a lot of commitments and actually executing them too. You're not a procrastinator. But how do you actually fit it all in? Like, what is your organization? What is your productivity techniques and strategies?
I mean, I think it's just, I like to remind myself that it's work and it needs to be done. Like, I do actually, it's funny enough, I've got the notebook in front of me. I do always carry around a notebook, and everything gets noted down and it gets prioritized, because that's the thing. Like, there's a lot of people who I still do a lot of free work. I like to help people. Like, it's to be honest, it's probably one of the reasons why I haven't gone full time, because there's people that I don't charge. And I'm just kind of like, no, I really just want to help you because I believe in you. But then they go down a priority list. So, if I've got a paying client who needs product photography done in the next week, that's at the top of the list. My organization actually is terrible. Like, it is the worst in the world. Like, where people say,
I don't believe that.
See, this is a funny thing, because people are like, oh, you must have loads of to-do lists and stuff like that. And I was like, no, I am just literally, when I'm at work, I'm at work. And you'll find if you ask me to do something, if I don't do it in 24 hours, good luck trying to get it in the next week. Because if I don't do it on that day, it's not getting done. Like, it's not getting done until I get to the weekend and I'm able to go through all of the things that I haven't done. Also, to be honest, it's it's my life. Like, this is what I've been doing. Like, Emergely is for this year, but I've been working on that business for 5 years. And, I would say probably about 6 years, I've been doing little things to make more money for myself and kind of start an entrepreneurial journey. And I do think as you develop as a business owner or an entrepreneur or whatever name you want to give yourself, you get better at organizing your time anyway, because you know what needs to be done. Like, I know, like, a massive job for me was inventory. So I needed to go through all the rest of the clothing that I have for Emergely. That took me 11 hours in one day to do. And it was horrendous. I hated it. But it's a job that I've been putting off for so long. And I was like, you need to do it. Like, you need to just sit down and do it. And I think that's kind of why I'm able to juggle so many things, because I'll sit there and just be like, just do it. And I do the similar thing to you. Like, I bulk as much as I can. So my Instagram posts, they're all bulked. They're all written out week by week, even sometimes month by month. And it's really funny when I get reactions and comments to it. And I'm like, wow, I actually wrote that about 3 weeks ago. I mean, the concept's still the same. What I'm talking about still makes sense. But it's like, you're like, wow, I'm not in that mind frame anymore. And with social media marketing, I think that's probably the easiest to organize, is because clients are more organized than I am. So they want posts on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Like, and that's it. And it's on my wall, and that is it. I know that is what I have to do on those particular days. And that makes it a lot easier for me, because then, I can do my other stuff when I have time around that.
Absolutely. If you're a service-based business owner like we are, your level of organization, you can only ever be as organized as your clients. And this is something that I think I learned the hard way a few years ago. I used to think it was a me problem, and that wasn't actually always the case. I try and take full responsibility, particularly for assisting clients becoming more organized. But when you have the systems in place and you have, clients that are using those systems, actually what seems like a lot of work, or it's stressful work, is actually a walk in the park. It's a completely different story.
Yeah, you get good clients, like we call them unicorn clients. So if you get unicorn clients that they deliver the stuff that you need, and they pay you on time and they give you a good general structure of what they want, they are unicorn clients, and I will do everything in my power to keep them happy. And then you'll get nightmare clients that, content is submitted to you 3 weeks late, and you're like, well, you're a bit late now. Like, and then they're debating whether they want to pay your invoice because you haven't done the work. And it's like, well, funnily enough, I haven't done the work because you haven't given it to me. And it's one of those things. It's just like, yeah, service-based businesses, like, if your clients are good, you're good.
Yeah, that's what we all want. Good clients, good business, having a good time.
Yeah, that's the goal.
Would you ever go full time as a business owner? I know you mentioned earlier that you're not planning on quitting your job anytime soon, but is it a goal that you have got maybe later down the line when things are, scaled further and more stable?
Yeah, 100%. Like,
Yeah.
I don't want to work full time. Like, this is the funny misconception that people get of me, is that because this is what I'm known for. I'm known for being able to make people money. I'm able to make people more than their salary now by still having a day job, because everyone thinks that because it's all about time and effort and, dedication, that they need to dedicate those 7 hours instead of being in a day job. They need to do it on their business. And I understand that. And that's what I'm known for. But I don't want to work for someone else for the rest of my life. The only benefit that I get out of it at the minute is a decent pension. Like, and that's it. And that's for when I'm, God knows when, because we have no idea how the bloody state pension is going to go. We might not even have one by the time we get there. But yeah, I would love to do this full time, because this is what I like. Like, I like my job. There's nothing, like, as I said, there's nothing wrong with my job, but I love everything else that I do.
Yeah.
Like, otherwise I wouldn't be sat here in the evening doing it. So if I could walk around with a camera and my laptop and my clothing and just that's what I do, I'd be so happy.
Yeah.
So yeah, the goal is to go full-time at some point.
Yeah. Have you put a milestone? Like, have you specified that, like, when Emerge Elite hits X in revenue, or are you just going to go off of a feeling like you get to a certain point and you're thinking, wow, like, my businesses have grown so much. It's actually, I cannot continue having a full-time job and running two businesses all at the same time because it is actually too much now.
I go more on a feeling, because when I was younger, I did the whole by 30, I'm going to have a house, I'm going to have a dog, I'm going to be doing exactly what I want to do. And I'm 30 this year and I'm nowhere near. Like, and it's just like, I left the equine industry when it felt right. Because as I said, it was the same thing. I couldn't manage everything that I was doing. I couldn't develop my businesses any further doing what I was currently doing. So I changed it. And that was the best decision I've made. As much as I miss it, it was the best decision I made for me. And it'll be the exact same. There will be a day, and to be honest, at the back end of 2019, November, December, I was really close of handing in that resignation and being like, we're doing this. Like, we're going to give it a go. And if it fails, it fails. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And I'm glad that I held off for a little bit longer, because it was that gut feeling that kind of said, you've only just done it. You've only just made that amount of money. You're only just consistently getting those numbers. Just wait. And it was funnily enough, because then when COVID started coming into talks, couldn't ship any of my products. Half of my clients got scared and just got rid of their contracts. And God knows where they are now, and literally my income went from like £10,000-12,000 a month to 2. And it was a big hit. And it was just kind of like, I was glad that I kind of just went, let's just make it stable. If I have 6 months reoccurring, like with this or bigger, then we might do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Like being conservative and just being sensible. I think it's very easy to, start a business and sort of, I don't know, focus too much on the glitz and the glamour and the big numbers. But actually there's a lot more that goes into making like life-changing decisions like that.
Yeah. Oh, 100%, as we both know. Like, it's one of those, it's like, you have to make decisions based on your best interest, not what everyone else is telling you around you. Because obviously everyone was hearing how well we were doing, and it was on social media, I wasn't hiding it. And people were like, that's it, you're done. That's it, you've made it, you're successful. And I was like, no. I was like, because successful is in a moment. Because I'm not successful for a moment. I want to be successful for a lifetime.
I'm not sure when 5-figure months and 6-figure years became this benchmark of what success means anyway. Success might just mean matching your day job wages.
Yeah.
Like, I think success is subjective, yet a lot of like social media, entrepreneurship on social media has actually quantified success, and I'm not sure if I like it.
No, I mean, to be honest, mine's more like, to me, I'm successful if my client's happy. I'm successful if I take photos and they love it. I'm successful if someone buys my t-shirt and that is what they wear all the time. And I'm successful for a £20 t-shirt or a 1-hour phone call or for a month's good work. The money is not part of it. Money is just a byproduct of everything else that I do. It just comes with it. And I think once I made that transition, which was stop focusing on the money and start focusing on the impact, life changed.
Yeah. Money comes and goes. It's a somewhat infinite resource in that sense. And the only thing that is finite is your time. Yeah. You need to be spending it in the right places, making as much impact as you can.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I plan to do.
I think you are, I don't know. I think that you're really headed towards something even bigger, something that you might not even imagine yet.
Well, I never imagined where I would be now. If you asked 18-year-old me, so 10 years ago, it wouldn't be this.
No.
And it wouldn't even be this person. Like, it wouldn't be the way that I speak now and the way that I present myself now and the way that I think about myself now. That wasn't me 10 years ago. Like, it's a it's a compound effect. Like, it's all come together in over the space of 10 years. And it's like, it's the hardest conversation I've had to have with some of my clients who are especially younger, and be like, are you willing to give up your young years in order to excel in a certain way? Because I wasn't partying. I wasn't going out. I wasn't doing drugs. I wasn't getting drunk every Friday night. That wasn't something that I did. I was working on my businesses. I was looking for opportunities. I was waiting for doors to be opened or closed. And that's how I've gone about my life. But then also at the same point, as like, you're very nice in saying, like, I've done a lot of shit. There's a reason for that. Because instead of people being like, oh, well, I went to Zante and got absolutely messed up and did drugs for 5 days. I didn't do that. I went to America and went to conferences and lived abroad. Like, I lived in America for 6 months. Like, that's what I did. I did differently. And I don't think that people who want to live their 20s, or, you know, older teens, 20s, 30s, if they want to live it that way, cool, do that. But there is sacrifices that you need to make in order to be successful. And I think that is the defining section between people. You either get up and you do it. And I think that's why, like, me and you recognize it with each other. And there's people who won't. There's people who will talk about it and be like, yeah. Like, this is what I do. And then you look at them 6 months down the line and they've not moved anywhere. And then it's like, well, no, you're talking about it. You're not actually doing anything about it. Which, funnily enough, sometimes people can talk about it and it just hasn't happened yet. You know, like, that moment hasn't happened yet. Because that was me at the beginning. I was like, yeah, I'm going to do all of this stuff and you're all going to be surprised. Like, you're going to love it. And then, like, a year later, people were like, you're taking your time, right? And then it's like, once it was launched, it's developed where it has now. But then that's taken time. That's taken 4 years.
Yeah, it's a much longer process than it gets, you know, sold as.
Yeah, but it feels like I've been doing it for 2 minutes.
Yeah, I bet.
It really doesn't feel like I'm turning 30 this year. Like, it really doesn't. It feels like, I feel like I'm like 23 again. Like, if everything's exciting again, because I've got to build everything from the ground up again. So that's really exciting for me, because everyone's kind of like, oh no, but, you know, it might fail and it might do this. And I'm like, cool, bring it on. Because if it fails, I find something else and I do something else and I adapt and change to the environment around me. That's an entrepreneur. If you want to put a name to it, that is the definition of it. You're very good at adapting to the world around you. You don't get stuck.
Yeah, for sure. Seek opportunity, embrace challenge, fix what's broken, and do more of what works.
Yes.
There you go. I'm going to write that on, like, my wall. It's the new mantra. Flashing back there a little bit, one question that I really wanted to ask you was, what words of wisdom would you pass down to the next generation of entrepreneurs? Like, you know, thinking of yourself when you just finished college, or you were going into your first, you know, actual job, and they're thinking of starting businesses and getting in on this online entrepreneurship journey.
The first thing I'd probably say is be unapologetically you. Like, stop listening to the world. Just stop it. Stop listening to the news. Stop listening to what most people say on social media, and focus on you. Especially if you're 18 to 20, or probably 18 to 23, they are massive years in your life. They are where you develop so much as a person. And I think people forget that if you're going to start a business, you can be a great business person, but if you're not a good person, then it doesn't work. It doesn't go hand in hand. And make sure your intentions are clear. Like, make sure that whatever you're setting out to do, you are willing to take everything that comes with it, good or bad. Don't be flexing on Instagram. You know, don't be just talking about all the good times, because it's not like that. And I think that's what hurts entrepreneurs these days, is that they start something and it's amazing and they love it, and then someone tells them it's shit. And it really, I've seen it with online PTs and stuff, because that is main people that I work with for social media marketing. And it's really hit them hard. And then they don't want to post anything, because now they're thinking about, well, their body isn't perfect or their content isn't perfect and stuff like that. And I'm like, you are perfect in your own way. You are perfect to you. And if you're not perfect, that's also normal, because we continuously develop throughout our entire lives. Like, everything's a learning curve. There is no failures, it's just learning. And I think young people need to get a little bit more out of their heads and start really focusing on what they want to do instead of doing what society tells them to do. Because I went against society and I'm not doing too bad.
No, definitely not. You're doing more than okay.
Yeah.
I think I think that when it comes to being criticized for being yourself, I mean, we could talk about that for another hour and a half altogether, but first of all, it never comes from somebody doing better than you. People that are doing bigger and better things than you do not have the time to criticize people that are just starting out. And when you think about, okay, so the people that are criticizing you, they're not doing what you're doing. And there might be a multitude of reasons why that's the case, but somewhere at their core, there's jealousy.
Yeah. It's like, so I spoke about it recently, of people putting limitations on you, and that you should never ever listen to it. Because usually people are putting limitations on you because of their perception of themselves, not of you. They don't think that they could do it, so they think you can't do it. And that's the weird thing. And everyone's like, no, people just, like to limit people. That's what we've been taught in society and education. You get an education, you get a job, you retire. That is what we've been told. And I was like, no, that is what society's limitations is of themselves, because that's how they function. For them to be able to make money and get taxes and all this bullshit, that's what they have to have. 80% of the population doing that. I was like, so you have to eradicate that. Don't put limitations on yourself. Like, if you want to be brash and be like, yeah, I'm going to make £1 million, cool. But to make £1 million, you've also got to be very aware of what that takes. It's like, it's not buying the latest Ralph Lauren t-shirt or something. It's not spending 150 quid to go out for the weekend with your mates. It's not like that. It's, that's the way it is. And I think they're very, very simple things. And I find it funny because obviously when I'm speaking about it, it's like people are like, oh, you're kind of a little bit blasé about it. But to me, it's easy. If you want something, you've got to list out what you're willing to give up to get there. Like, if you want a new body, because we've been given the beauty of plastic surgery, everyone thinks you can just buy it. Or you can follow a good diet, you can go to the gym 4 or 5 times a week, and you can actually give a shit about your body, and you will get a better body. So the first concept that you had will be achieved. But you have to sacrifice takeaways and alcohol, potentially. I mean, that's what I do because I think they're just empty calories. And you have to give up things. You have to give up going out on a Friday night, because instead you're going to be at a different type of bar. And that's it. That's what you've got to be able to do. And if you don't want to do that, don't complain about it. If you're not willing to put the work in, you can't then turn around in 6 months' time and go, I'm getting so fat. Well, yeah, because you're still not looking at what you're putting into your body and what you're giving out from your body. If you're sat at a desk for 8 hours a day and not moving, it's going to have repercussions, because you weren't willing to sacrifice that half an hour to get up and go for a run and make sure that your lunch break, you weren't eating a Domino's pizza. Instead, you were eating, a nice salad. I don't know. It doesn't have to be boring. We both do it. We both look after ourselves. So it's not impossible.
No, when it becomes a habit, it feels easy. Like you said, we don't think twice about looking after ourselves or making the right decisions, but you've got to build that habit in the first place, which I think is where most of the challenge lies, particularly because I think technology, like social media, healthcare as well, like you mentioned, plastic surgery, people are looking for the results. Mm-hmm. The short-term gratification, like they want that feel-good factor. Yes, I look how I want, I've achieved that goal that I wanted, but they're just not willing to put that time or effort in. And the concept of long-term and hard work and priorities and sacrifice, it's like, avoid those at all costs. But that's just, you're never going to sustain that goal. Achieving that goal, that success, that happiness won't stick around if you cheated your way there.
Yeah, you can't just want it enough. This is an annoying thing. I don't know if anyone who is listening to this is from my generation, but I grew up being told that if you want it enough, you can get it. That is the most stupid thing I've ever heard, because it's not a need, it's a want. You can want a fancy house, but the requirements to get there is different. You can't just want it enough. I can't just sit here and go, you know what, I really want £1 million. And it's just going to go into my hand. It's not going to happen. And that's how we grew up. That's kind of what people are so used to now, is that they ask for things and they should receive it. And that's not the case. You still have to work. I mean, if you go to care homes and speak to the older generation, like, I really wish I could have better conversations with my grandparents. Unfortunately, they're quite frail now, because they worked through World War II. And like, there is definitely a different level of human there that there is now. Because now it's just kind of like, well, I want an iMac, so I'm going to go and pay £88 a month so I can just have it. And then they wonder why they can't save any money, or now they're getting into debt because they've signed up to 10,000 of these finance plans. Like, it's a simple thing. Like, you go back to my grandparents' age, if they wanted bread, they probably made it. And that was it.
Yeah.
That's what, if they wanted it, they had to put their hands together, knead the dough, and do it themselves.
Completely different way of living, right?
Yeah. And I think it's a concept that if you implement that now into your daily life as an entrepreneur, life gets so much easier if you're willing to just do it, if you're willing to just do the work as well.
Yeah, no, couldn't agree more. And speaking of goals and work, what are you working on for 2021? What does this year look like for you? And, what exciting things are happening behind the scenes at Emerge Elite and Emily Topping's entrepreneur empire?
To be honest, I have had quite a lot of time to think about this. Obviously, the back end of 2020 and the beginning of January, I took a big break, 6 weeks, off social media, and kind of would sit and journal and have those really uncomfortable conversations that you have with yourself. And I turned around and realized that we are all in a very, very similar situation. Emerge Elite has got a lot more difficult now, because to get products into the country is just difficult. Everything's got imports now with Brexit and stuff like that. Things are getting very, very expensive. So I have to be smarter. Before, I would be able to essentially wholesale it, buy a bunch of t-shirts, put my own branding in it and sell it. Now it's kind of given me the kick up the arse to go more bespoke, to look into actually making my own stuff, because I'm going to have to pay the fees for it anyway. So I might as well make what I really, really want to make. It'll take longer to be able to give products to people, because obviously I try to keep things coming out at least every 4 to 6 months. So that might be a little bit more different. I'm currently working on stuff which is top secret, but there are things in the pipeline. And with social media and stuff like that, I'm actually really enjoying helping people who need to adapt to the way that the world's going. So I'm actually really enjoying working with the little guys and not focusing on any money, just focusing on essentially using my skills and helping people develop themselves, because I am very, very lucky that I'm in a very secure position, financially, and all this kind of stuff. And there's people that are not in that certain place right now. So my plan for 2021 is to go right back to the beginning, like 2016, 2017 me, which was like, I helped out as many people as possible because I needed people to kind of know who I am. I don't really need to do that anymore. I do have a really good engaging audience and stuff, and I appreciate the absolute pants off them, and they know that. But it's nice to go back and help the little guy again. but as a completely different person. I'm not going in there now with a £350 camera, absolutely no idea about color grading, and just kind of being like, we'll see what happens. Like, it's not like that anymore. Like, I have very particular skills, and yeah, I want to be able to give that to as many people as I can this year.
That is amazing. I think that sounds really exciting, actually.
It'll be good. It'll be a good reel, like a good thing to show off at the end of 2021 to how many people we've helped.
Yeah, focusing on impact above anything else. And I think that is the way that everybody needs to be thinking if they're running a business, no matter what business either.
Yeah, 100%. And especially with like the times as they are now, I think by helping people move into the online space is one of my biggest concerns, basically, is just ensuring that they're able to do that without getting scammed. Because obviously there's a lot of new entrepreneurs that are moving into the space and saying that they can make you 10 figures a month, and they can't. They want to be paid £1,000 a month. That's what they want. They're not actually bothered in the results. They'll give you borderline results so you're happy, but they get what they want out of it. And I don't agree with that. So I don't do that. I mean, to be honest, long term, I just want to be happy. I'm really open to the way. It's kind of like that whole spiritual thing. Like, I'm really happy to allow the world to tell me what's next. Instead of focusing so much on stuff. I've spent, as you know, like I went through 2 pretty big injuries and stuff in the space of 2.5 years, and my life essentially got put onto hold, or at least my life for me, like my personal stuff. My business is still ran, and I wasn't sad, but I haven't been able to do what I want. Like, I want to climb like freaking Snowdonia and stuff, because like I've not been able to. I've not been able to run. I've not been able to move. I've not been able to play sports. I've not been able to live what essentially is the core part of me. So long term, I want to find out those things that make me happy, because I have to change my life. I can't go back to the person I was before, because she is not there anymore. It's just a slightly more broken person. But it just means that I can't go and just run a marathon because I feel like it. And my God, my ankle wouldn't be able to do anything about that. I can't lift super heavy weights at the minute because I'd like to keep my guts on the inside. And it's just one of those things. I'm really open to just letting the world tell me what it wants. Normally I'm just I've got my head buried in the sand, and, I'm on work mode. So now I am enjoying things. And that's why I work the way that I do. My Mondays to Fridays are super busy, super hectic. But I actually give myself the weekends now. I only work like a few hours in the morning. And then if I want to sit and play Call of Duty for the rest of the day, that is what I'm going to do.
That's balance and boundaries at their finest.
Yes, which I've never done before in my life. I've usually just worked every single minute, hour of the day. And this is a new thing for me.
It's a new thing for me in the last sort of 3 or 4 months as well. But I'm never going back to how I used to work, for sure.
Yeah, I'm so much happier now. Like, I'm so much more content with my output as well. I feel like my output is better. I'm more productive instead of busy.
Yeah, because busy is also not one of the definitions of success that a lot of people keep marketing it with.
No, you can work 18 hours a day and 2 hours of that will be actually worth anything. Or you could work 4 hours and it be worth 5 hours. It's however you do it.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think that you've got an incredible story so far, and I think you're going to have an incredible story to keep following as you go along, not just through this year, but obviously, much, much further than that. So for anybody that's listening that wants to stay connected to you, where should we be following you?
I mean, the best place to get to see my life in the most authentic way is my Instagram, which is Emily E. Topping. Other than that, I'm starting to get back on YouTube. So that is, again, just Emily Topping. And I also have my own podcast, which Dani has been on.
I have indeed.
That's called Portable Success. So that's normally like, if you want the sort of chats that we've been doing, that is the best place to go to get more of it. If you like the way that I talk.
Absolutely. I'll leave all of those linked in the description. And I've really enjoyed having you on my podcast. This is really exciting.
I know, we've been talking about this for a while.
I know, tell me about it. And I'm sure this won't be the first and last time that you'll be guesting here. I'll be inviting you back for sure. So
yeah, it'll be good to see where we both are in, I don't know, 6 to 8 months time.
Somewhere completely different, knowing us.
Yeah, knowing us, it'll be like a completely different story, and people will be like, who are these two?
We'll have to reintroduce ourselves all over again.
Yeah, see how many more businesses I have.
Yeah.